Folks, our guest today was a two-time New York City Golden Gloves champion by the time he was 18 years old. He entered the professional ranks later that year, amassing a record of 31-0 and reigning as the Bantamweight Champion of the world. But in 1994, when two unexpected losses threatened to derail this otherwise meteoric career, this stoic 23-year-old shrugged off the doubters and rededicated himself to the sport, going on a new run of 9 more straight wins, including a victory over future Hall of Famer Orlando Canizales. And in short order, he found himself in another title fight against a man considered by many to be the best in the business, and by some to be unbeatable. But stepping into the ring as the heavy underdog against 43-0 Marco Antonio Barrera, this courageous young man was neither intimidated nor in doubt. He knew who he was, what it had taken to get him there, and he carried the unbridled spirit of the streets of Brooklyn, New York in his heart and in his fists. And he proceeded to serve the heralded Marco Antonio Barrera the very first loss of his incredible career to become the new 122-pound champion of the world. But it didn't end there. 5 months later, upon the immediate rematch, he handed Barrera his second loss as well. By the way, the only other man in history to do that is named Manny Pacquiao. Damas and Erin, mesdames et messieurs, damas y caballeros, ladies and gentlemen, I am as thrilled as I am honored to introduce you to one of the greatest ring warriors we've ever known and one of the finest gentlemen you'll ever meet, a true New York hero, Brooklyn's own Junior Jones. Welcome, champ.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's really nice to see you.
Likewise.
Poison. That was your nickname.
Yes.
You know, I only got to know you once you were retired and out of the ring. You don't seem like a poison, buddy.
You want to know where I got today poison
yeah,
from?
Where'd it come from?
I really got to tell you the story.
Yeah.
Well, my legal given name is Ivy Jones Jr. And I can't stand the name Ivy because when I was in school, kids called me Poison Ivy, Ivy Soap, so I couldn't stand Ivy. So one day I was fighting in a kid gloves tournament, and some guy man yelled off the air, wow, I knocked this guy out, I put him on a stretcher. And some guy yelled out, wow, that guy got poison in that right hand. So I realized, well, poison Ivy, I leave Ivy, I keep poison.
Well, the thing is, I have seen you fight, and I watched you fight. You know, when you were professional, I was a big fan. Having seen you fight, I can understand the nickname because that right hand was poison. It was lethal.
Yes.
Roy Jones had said you were one of the best hitters in the featherweight division, and George Foreman had said you're just straight out one of the best boxers in the business. In fact, he said he's one of the best boxers out there. He gets in trouble when he gets in and likes to brawl.
Exactly. That was my problem. My thing was with boxing, the point where if I got hurt, people said the smartest thing would do would be to try to buy time, hold on, grab. But for some reason, if you hit me and you hurt me, in my mind, I gotta get you back. I don't want to wait till 2 rounds. I gotta do it right there. So I forget totally about the hold of the grab. I just want to fight.
Yeah, I understand. And it shows because you're a gentleman and lovely guy. But when that fight turns into a fight, you really fight, man.
But mind you, when before I turned pro, when I turned pro, I told the manager I was with at the time that if I lose a fight, I told him I would never lose by decision ever. I said, you just stop me, you gotta knock me out. And all my fights, besides one, I got stopped. So when I finally lost the fight by decision, I decided to retire because I felt like I was protecting myself or I was just a little gun shy. So that's why I retired.
Good. I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to talk to you about that. You seem to know when it was time to get out. You seem to know what that window was and when that window was closing. And you retired as a young guy. You were still 31 years old when you retired.
Yeah, correct.
How did you know it was time to get out?
Because I lost by decision. And I felt that losing by decision, I was protecting myself. I was gunshot. I didn't want to go in there and mix it up. My thing is, if I lose a fight, I would never lose one decision. If I knock you out, you knock me out. I'll stop you. You stop me. Thank God I've been knocked out, but you stop me, I'll stop you. And when I didn't get stopped in this fight, I figured, you know what? This is not me. I don't want to go on fire because now I feel that I'm trying to protect myself and trying to do that, I won't get hurt.
So you just knew you couldn't do it the way you used to do it. You
Nah,
couldn't defend yourself anymore
I
that
know.
way.
Yeah, I know. My thing was, I mean, like I said, you gotta stop to lose. To want to fight with me, you knock out, you stop. So when you win. So when I lost my decision, I knew right then that this ain't me. I was trying to protect myself.
I think a lot of guys today could use your tutelage and your advice, buddy. Um, there's guys out there fighting in their 50s in big pay-per-view matches. What do you think about guys like Tyson and Jones fighting?
I mean, it's exhibition fight, but they're not trying to kill each other. And if you can make money playing around with each other, I'll do it too. But they want to fight the elite guys, and I don't see that happening.
Okay, fair enough. I agree with you there because I don't begrudge anybody making money. I don't begrudge those guys trying to make money for themselves, but I think the confusion is among the public is we're supposed to, or some people think we're supposed to look at those as real fights. And I agree with you. They're exhibitions.
They're not real fights. They're not the thing. They're not trying to knock each other out. They're trying to carry. They're trying to put on a show. They're
Yeah.
trying to be showing, put on a show for people. So I feel that if I gotta go, if I'm gonna put on the show and I know beforehand, I know no problem. I'll do it. But if I'm in a serious fight where there's something on the line, and I'm trying to protect myself. I should be in there because then I can get seriously hurt and it be incurable. So I feel let me step out.
And there's like a code among you guys, isn't there? You guys, I know a handful of former pro fighters through my friend, our mutual friend Ice Cole, who I appreciate him, introducing us. But I've met a bunch of guys who spend some real successful years in the ring. I met Joe Frazier years ago. I've met Larry Holmes, Jerry Cooney, Ray Mercer. I've met Iran. I know you know Iran, Hasim
Yeah.
Rahman, Winky Wright. I've met Lou Savarese. And the one thing about it is, well, one thing that really surprises me is how what nice guys you are, what gentlemen you all are, and how there's no more, it's never hey, I'm a tough guy. It's you
No,
guys have left all that behind, haven't you?
that's business. I mean, my thing when you see me in the ring, I'm a different type of person. That's you turn from nice guy to beast. So my thing is, when you're outside the ring, the cameras are off and the crowds are cheering. You become who you really are. And how I really am is I'm so spoken. I'm like I said, my thing. I'm not violent. So my thing is, I get to be who I am as a person.
It's
So
awesome.
you gotta separate your business and who you are. Like a lot of people like Floyd Mayweather, the little guy, they entwine both of us. So they always head out and get written up. You gotta know who you are as a person, as a fighter.
That's great. And it's a lot of fun. I must say it's a lot of fun being around you guys and hearing you talk about, your careers and your perspectives on each other. It's a really nice little sort of club you guys have.
Yes.
Now, what about that? There is that sort of clubbiness, isn't there? Even whether you guys were in the same weight bracket or whether you were in different eras, there seems to be a real mutual respect amongst you guys, you
Yes, and
fighters.
business is business. I mean, fighting, if we're in the same division or we cheering is different. My thing is, you can put your business, who you are personally, and who you are for the sport into the same bag. You gotta separate the two. You gotta become. My thing. I gotta be this person. Who I am every day. I'm not a fighter every day, so I gotta be who I am as a person, human being every day.
Absolutely. Good for you. After that first Barrera win, you went to celebrate with your corner. I saw our friend Al Ice Cole, who had just won his fight,
Yeah,
lift you up in the air.
yeah.
What was that victory like for you?
I mean, it was a sweet victory because, like I said, to go into a fight where the odds and the 100 to 1, the odds get so big to the point where they gotta take off the board and to beat that guy mentally. Because the thing was, no one would listen to me. Many times I tell people there's a fight that I know for a fact I want to win. I know he's tailor made for me. No one believe me. No one. thought that just trying to talk himself into the fight. His self confidence and to beat a guy of that magnitude meant a lot to him.
But how did you know? How did you know? How did you know you were going to beat him?
No, but the people forget. Remember, I called the 5th round to beat him. I said it's a 5-round fight. Everyone thought that I was like losing my mind because it happened in the 5th round. Because the thing is, you gotta understand, Barrera was. I watched him. He was sharp. He was dangerous. But Mexican fighters, I love because they come straight to you. They want to punch. I know I can punch. So my thing is, when I fought Barrera, I know for a fact that if he come to me and try to fight me, this is gonna be a quick fight because I hit just as hard as he hit.
You had an incredible start to your career. You went on that 31-0 run that I mentioned. You were Bantamweight champion, and you hit a couple stumbling blocks, as usually happens with those two real unexpected losses. But you didn't die. You didn't get down on yourself. You just rededicated yourself, and you went back to work. And I'll tell you this: I've watched you. I've watched a lot of your fights. And that Barrera, those two Barrera fights, you were doing it as well as you ever were, buddy. You had the distance, you had that jab going, you kept the left hand up, and when it was time, you followed it with that straight right, and that won you those fights.
But it's funny, people always mention Barrera fight. That fight doesn't mean as much to me as Canizales.
You mentioned that to me. Tell me about that.
I like Barrera, but that's not my favorite victory. My favorite victory is 11 Canizales.
Why was the Canizales fight so special to you? Is it because where it was?
No. He dominated the bantamweight ranks with, I think, 17 title defenses the other time for 12 years. And they try to match them. We never match. The thing is, here's a guy who broke the record for 17 defenses on the time for 12 years. And so my thing was to beat him. Meant more to me than that, much more than the Barrera fight.
Yeah, and that was a guy you had watched as a younger guy. He was 6 years older than you, and he had been an established guy. So it's like going in fighting one of your heroes almost.
And he had like the greatest chin. He was not knocking this guy out at all. I don't care who you are.
Jones has found the second and third win in this fight.
Stop punching!
He is really fighting the fight of his life.
He is producing a championship caliber effort.
And now I think he is proving himself to be one of the greater bantamweights or junior featherweights to ever live.
And thing was to beat him 11 rounds to 1 was a lot to.
That's beautiful, and it did happen on your home turf. At the time, there was no Barclays Center.
Yeah, it was the Garden. It happened at the Garden, exactly.
But I think it's fair to say, guys, that this is one occasion where the hometown has helped Junior Jones.
But it was at the theater at the Garden, and I know from seeing fights in both houses, as a fan, that to me is the best place to see a fight because it's such a small little house. How is it as a boxer in the ring? Which one would you prefer?
Well, the boxing ring, I don't care where the fights are, whether it's New York, Vegas, like say my job is to fight. So no matter where it's at, it doesn't matter to me going there. I'm not focused on where I'm at and where the ring is set up. I'm just focused on that person that I gotta compete with.
Fair enough. I want to also mention your Golden Glove fights, which I rewatched. And I've been a big fan of the gloves for years. Yes. I've gone to many of them. I don't go anymore for a couple reasons.
It's not the same. I mean, one thing I have nothing against. I support the women boxing totally, but I think with the success of the women boxing, it's just not the same with all the. I mean, the fighters aren't like they used to be anymore. So me and the Golden Gloves, I just can't really get into it like I used to.
When I look back at you guys, of those tapes of you in 88 and 89, you won the novice at 119 in 88, and you won the open division at 119 in 89. You look like professional fighters already.
Well, I think back then we were more dedicated to our trade. And I think back then that we took the game more serious. We took our skills more serious. And we fought to compete. We didn't care about winning the glove. We just wanted to compete. We knew we was facing the best, so we had to be our best. So that's what we were more focused on. So if I said the fight meant that I knew I could win, I thought I could win. I went in to kill the best, and my thing is, If the guy beat me, just say earned it. I can't fault nobody but myself. I can't say the trainer did this, the match did that. I fought myself because I'm the one that's up in there.
Exactly. Good for you. Good for you for that attitude. I want to talk about a fairly unpleasant subject for a minute. There are some guys who are hanging around a lot longer than they should, but you explained it as their exhibition fights, and that's fine. Now, there's some other guys entertaining fights from circus clowns, basically. Some guys that never were fighters,
Yeah.
but they're influential in various ways.
Logan Paul, these guys.
Yeah, tell me about what you think about the fact that Floyd
I
Mayweather is going to give those clowns a stage.
I believe for Floyd it made good business and money wise. But as far as the general public, so one thing is why these guys are YouTube fighters all of a sudden now they fighting the best of our time, our era, and we give them credit like they have a chance, they are the best. I mean, I think that makes boxing a joke. Come on, that's like I said, I could pick someone off the street, just say, "Oh yeah, you want to fight me? Give you a name, give some attributes, and put you in there." So I think the whole thing with Floyd and this Logan Paul is a disgrace to boxing. One thing is, everyone knows Logan Paul has no chance. I don't care how big he is. There's no chance in the world. For Floyd, it makes sense because economically, for the money, you're making 7, 8 figures. You do it. So for Floyd, it makes sense. But for the general boxing public, I think that it sucks.
But Junior, okay, I certainly respect your opinion. But Floyd Mayweather has made over $500 million throughout his boxing career by
Correct.
people like me and you buying his pay-per-view fights. Maybe
Correct.
you don't buy him. Maybe you go to him.
I don't buy him at all.
All right. Well, I bought him because he was an incredible fighter with some of the best defense I've ever seen. But now,
Yeah.
for him to give a stage to a kid who's never even gone into an amateur fight, let
Right.
alone a professional fight, doesn't Floyd Mayweather owe the public something more and more dignity than that?
I mean, he does, but you gotta understand he's a businessman. Boxing comes a point in time where it becomes business. And for business wise, he's doing the right business. You're taking the most money for the least risk. So for business wise, it's perfect. And for like I said, for anybody who buys the fight, you are crazy. I would never buy that fight because that's not a real fight. You're talking about two guys who's YouTube boxers fighting the best there was of our time. I think it makes a mockery out the sport of boxing. Now it made boxing look like a joke.
I agree with you in certain ways, and I disagree in terms of I just don't think Floyd should be taking that fight. Floyd doesn't need the money. Floyd could do a lot of other things,
Man,
including
he has a lot to lose. If this guy can look at boxing, and this guy, he's a huge guy. He's much bigger than Floyd. So boxing is never guaranteed anything can happen.
oh, of
So
course.
now he loses. Floyd gets clipped with a lucky shot, loses fight. He makes boxing look like it's a joke.
That's what I'm saying. And I just don't think the stage should be set at all.
It harms the sport. It hurts the sport. Floyd loses to this guy. It hurts the sport a lot.
I agree. Let the circus stay in the circus and let boxing retain its dignity.
Exactly, because we both know in reality, Logan Paul has no chance in the world. He's not a real boxer. YouTube boxing, professional boxing, you're talking about day and night. You can't compare the two. And Floyd, if he happens to even if this guy hangs in there and does well with Floyd, it makes boxing look like it's a joke.
Does it tarnish your opinion of Floyd at all?
No, I don't talk about opinion because I think this is benefit. It's like you take the least risk for the most money. So Floyd feels that, which I feel this is not even a risk, and you get $107 million. I'll do it too.
Can you imagine Sugar Ray Robinson fighting a circus clown for money?
No, not at all.
Can you imagine Sugar Ray Leonard fighting a circus clown for money?
Right now, to my people who has character, their character, they wouldn't do it. Plus, one thing, some people think money is everything. They think the more they make, the better. My thing, but money's not everything. My thing, sometimes you have character, and respect in yourself, and respect in the sport that made you who you are, and say, this is not even worth it. Let me take another route.
Junior, that's why I love you, buddy. You hit it You just hit the nail on the head. It's about character, isn't it?
My thing, everything, my money's good. We all know you go all over, like I said. But like I said, we all like money because I don't love money. I like it, but I don't love it. So I think we all like money. So I think money's not everything in this world. I think there's something that money can't buy. Love, health, life, strength. Money can't buy it. So if you want to go in there and make a market of sport with this guy, and people come there and say, I'm not gonna buy it. If someone rents it and got it, I watch. But me to buy it, never, because that fight's not worth buying.
That's an incredible message, Junior, and I'm right there with you. Thank you for saying that. Hall of Fame.
Yes.
3 of the fighters I mentioned already, 2 of which you beat, are in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Orlando Canizales, Marco Antonio Barrera, and Manny Pacquiao, who's the only one who also beat Barrera 2 times. And
Right.
by the way, let me just point out, he beat him at the end of Barrera's career.
Yeah, he beat Barrera pretty much, but he had wear and tear on him.
Yeah, you beat him in the middle of his prime, at the peak, at the pinnacle of his prime.
Yes, exactly.
So I asked myself, and I asked some other people, why you're not in the Hall of Fame. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Nah, I mean, I don't give it much of a thought. My thing is, if I make it, beautiful. If I don't make it, I'm satisfied with what I've done in my career. I know that I gave the crowd, fans, the best that I could give them. I never cowered out or took the easy way out. I always fought the best fight. So I leave it like that. And I just accept right now being in the New York, New Jersey Hall of Fame, being the only New Yorker in the Jersey Hall of Fame. I accept that more.
Good for you, buddy. I'm right there with you, but I certainly think you ought to be in the International Boxing Hall of Fame. I want to mention real quick, you're from which part of Brooklyn? You're from Bushwick, right?
Yeah, Bushwick originally.
Did you happen to see the picture that I texted you of old Bushwick?
Yeah, I did see that picture. Like I said, to see that picture, like to what I look at, I was there. It's like day and night. Like I can't believe that's the same neighborhood.
It's a little different in 1711, wasn't it?
A little different. It's a lot different. It's unrecognizable.
It was the first suburbs, essentially, when Manhattan started to be all bought up.
Yeah, Bushwick was normally supposed to be a rich area at first. When first back then, it was a rich area. Then as time came on, the neighborhood went downhill.
Well, at the time, it was essentially farmland. It was uninhabited farmland.
Correct.
And people moved there as early as 1638.
Correct.
And these were people from the Netherlands and people from what is today Belgium and
Yes.
people from what is Germany. And it's just another piece of evidence that shows that New York is and always has been a true melting pot.
And New York has a lot of diversity. I think New York has different gender, different race, different nationality there. So there's no excuse when you can say you didn't know this person this way, that way. You have an opportunity. It's not person for who they really are than what you really think.
Exactly. What's your favorite New York boxing memory?
Wow. New York boxing memory, I guess, winning the gloves.
Really? The second time when you won the Open?
The first time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because my thing is, I heard about, I see so many guys with gloves that won the gloves. And I thought the gloves were better than when Mark Reed before me became friends.
Right.
I heard about Mark and seeing with the gloves. There's so many guys you can name that started their careers, boxing careers, because of the gloves, and to win the gloves, they more to me than anybody else.
Yeah, and to a 17-year-old kid from Brooklyn, that's a pretty special thing to win, isn't it?
That is. I mean, I went to the finals at 16. And the crazy thing, I went to the finals at 16, and I lost to a guy I proved to beat 4 times in a row. And
wow.
He probably beat me. He beat me one of the biggest fights at the amateur tournament back then. So then to come back the next 2 years and win, it's a lot simpler.
And that's really what it's all about, because you don't learn much when you win, but when you lose, you learn everything, don't you?
Exactly. When you win is like, it's a good thing. I think sometimes you take the win and you don't take it with a grain of salt. You feel that you did something. But when you lose, you go back to the drawing board. You look at where you messed up at, what you can add on to your repertoire, things like that.
Did the spirit of New York help you along in your boxing career, as just the fact that you were from New York, whether you were fighting in the Garden where you fought over 20 times or whether you were on the road, like when you beat Barrera? Did the spirit of New York stay with you?
Definitely, because I think coming from New York, it's like you have a lot of shoulders. The New York tough and being New York good. And New York has so much history behind good fighters.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Well, I believe that New York has a real spirit in its soil and the winds that blow throughout the boroughs. And I think it's something that links people to the great history that's been here. And I think it gets inside people and inspires them. Well, Mr. Junior Jones, you yourself are a living legend, a true New York hero and a true American hero. Your strength and courage in the ring is rivaled only by your kind, gentle spirit beyond that ring. And it's an absolute pleasure to know you and to have the great memories of your incredible battles. You are a relentless warrior and a consummate champion, and we salute you. You are a great inspiration to millions of young people, and you embody that indelible spirit that lives beneath the sidewalks of New York and gusts between the canyons of this incredible place. We cannot express enough how we appreciate your sharing some of your own heart and spirit with us. Thank you.
Likewise, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Junior. Ladies and gentlemen, a world-class boxer and gentleman, the world champion who is all about character, Brooklyn's own Junior Jones. Love that guy. Folks, thank you so much for joining us. And if you're enjoying Island Voices on YouTube, please be sure to hit the red subscribe button on the bottom right of your screen to get every week's episode. Now, damas and herren, mesdames et messieurs, damas y caballeros, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to delve deeper into the history of Manhattan, the incredible history of Manhattan from 1609 to 1909, then you must join us for our primary podcast, Island, available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and all major podcast directories. Climb aboard. History is cool. And we remind you to listen to the voices. They are the indelible echoes of the indomitable spirit of this incredible island. We'll see you next time.